What's up guys, I'm Mike Pedigo. Today we're going to talk about chopping tails, why and how. First of all, why is because you're going to create a more efficient tail through the water. It's going to make your setup feel faster, it's going to make it feel looser, and it's going to roll over easier. With less wetted surface area, there's less drag. The potential cons to chopping a tail too far are losing some of the low end on the pump and glide, as well as reduced stability in the feel of the setup. So what you're going to need for this process is first your tail. You're going to need a way to measure. You're going to need something to score or to mark. I like to use a razor for a little score mark. Some tape to clearly markate your line you're going to cut, and your cutting device. Today I'm going to use an angle grinder. You could also use a bandsaw or a hacksaw. Alright, so for the actual chopping process, what I like to do is plan out how much I want to chop first of all. So on this progression 14.5, I'm going to take 3/4 inches off of the tail, off of the tip. What I'm going to do is measure that and make a very tiny score mark with the razor, and I'm going to do that exactly the same on each side of the wing. Okay. So now that I've got my score mark on each side of the wing, I'm going to take some tape to create a really defined line so that I know exactly where I'm going to cut. I'm placing this tape at a 45-degree angle to the tail of the wing, and I'm really going to try to keep this chop pretty straight. I want to preserve as much of the leading edge foil section as I can, just for efficiency through the water. I've got my tail all taped up. I've double checked the measurements and how straight it is. Now I'm going to grab my grinder and get ready to cut. So I'm going to carefully cut right along the tape line.
The tile cutting bit.
Alright, so after the cut, all I have here is some 60 grit on a paint stick, and we're just going to use this to clean up the cut. I want to get off any burrs and make it nice and smooth. Alright, I am right on my tape line there. It looks perfect. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to pull my tape, check my edge here, and clean it up a little bit more with the block because I don't want anything too crazy sharp. I'm just rolling it out just a little bit on the edge. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to take some extra sandpaper and go up in grit to make it smoother and do the final touches. So here I have some 220. Alright, so I'm happy with my finished product here. I have finished sanding with 400 grit wet. You could go up to 600 or 800. I personally think 400 is great. As you'll see here, I went pretty straight on my cut. You can go in a little bit, but you really want to make sure that you're preserving the foil section on the leading edge. If you sweep in too far, then you're going to end up kind of guessing on hand sanding with keeping the foil section, where right now I know that this foil section out of the tip is exactly how it was from the factory, so I haven't compromised anything there. This should loosen up my setup, make it a little faster, make it easier to roll. If you've got any questions about chopping tails, leave it in the comments.